Well, my name's Andy Redfern. I work for ACC and I'm a community injury prevention consultant, so I look at working with groups and organisations to help reduce the impact of injury. Generally, it's like a lot of injury prevention initiatives, it's not just one thing, it's a collection of everything, and right the way across sport, looking at how a sport is run, the fitness and techniques that are used, the environment that the sport's being played in, all play a part in actually that prevention. So there's no one size fits all. And certainly in a rugby context, there's been a lot of work done. Like we've seen a real reduction in the amount of scrum-related injuries. So obviously there's been some pretty high-profile neck and spinal injuries that have come from scrummaging, and that's certainly reduced over the years. And we've actually seen a reduction in head injury claims and concussion claims as well, which is really good. But we know that those claims are pretty underreported, especially in the sporting environment. We estimate around about 21% of the concussion claims that New Zealand has come from sport, but we know ACC, we don't see anywhere near that number being reported. So in a lot of ways, we're actually looking to see an increase in that. We want to see people reporting early, we want to see people getting the right treatment, and starting the track of recovery as quickly as possible. The majority of claims ACC get are mild or minor injuries, so about 90% of our claims are cuts and bruises, that sort of stuff that you might need in 1 or 2 visits to the doctors, or maybe a trip to the physio, and we're there, and that's what ACC is for. Right the way through the other side of the spectrum, which are serious injuries, and we've seen some pretty high profile injuries that come from the road or even the sports field. We're there for the rest of the people's lives, basically. So we deal with the full gambit of that. So whatever your entitlement is or what your need is after you follow an injury, then ACC is there supporting you all the way.
My name's Shane. I'm a personal trainer here at Sky Fitness. I run a business called PowerTech Training. Been working with Nick Chisholm here. He was injured in a serious rugby accident about 14 years ago, so I've been helping him with his rehab along the way over the last couple of years. About 14 years ago, Nick was injured in a rugby accident playing for Kike, where he took a head knock and it caused a stroke. So actually he was getting headaches prior to that game, weren't you? And which was warning sign enough that he probably shouldn't have been playing that day. And he went into the hospital not feeling well at all, and the doctors pretty much gave him the all clear, and he said, "Oh, hang on, I'm going to have a shower before I leave, just freshen up a wee bit. I'm still not feeling 100." And boom, that's where he got peeled out. And the next 2 years he's in hospital, pretty much fighting for his life. The injury that he received from the head knock has left him with a condition called locked-in syndrome. So that's where it's a very severe stroke in the brainstem. And basically it's sort of cut connections from his brain to his body. Blocked. Yeah, it's blocked connections from his brain into his body. So he's rebuilding those pathways every time we're in the gym here. And his life's pretty much just all about the rehab and getting things going again. It's a long road, but it's steady, and we are achieving some pretty cool things along the way. Like I said, he's a current Mr. New Zealand wheelchair bodybuilding champion, and he's still very involved with his footy as well, obviously through the Spartans and that. So nothing's holding this fella back, that's for sure. Sports injuries are a big issue for New Zealand, and generally we get around each year we get around about 500,000 claims. A lot of those are minor ones, but still there's some serious ones in there. And we look at it, we're paying out about $37 million a year for sports injuries. So it's quite a big issue. So anything we can do to reduce that is worthwhile. And the other thing, I think, you can talk about that money, but actually that's just the tip of the iceberg, because we know with an injury it's the social cost, it's the disruption to people, it's the pain and the suffering and things like that. So anything we can do to get that number down is worthwhile. We know that sort of rugby costs us quite a lot of money, and we're looking at around $59 million a year in claims costs for rugby, and so we work really well with the rugby union and the rugby groups to sort of try and reduce that. I think a lot of the more serious injuries are coming from that tackling grade, and a lot of the focus has been put on that tackling grade.
So from an injury breakdown, it's as you would expect, the main injury we get from rugby is strains and sprains and fractures and dislocations. And obviously they can range from, most of them are pretty minor, but you can get some pretty significant ones. And certainly a significant injury that we see is concussion and head injury as well. And one of the things that I as a case manager, when I was working with people who'd had injuries, the thing with concussion that often comes over is that the actual person who's concussed doesn't have that realisation. So, you know, we've all seen that where you pick yourself off the paddock, you don't actually realise you're confused, you don't know what's going on, but your main aim is to sort of shake yourself off, get back in with your team. And actually it's up to the coaches and the refs and the players and the parents and all those people to actually recognise that and make sure that person gets the right treatment. And one of the aspects of concussion actually is that often we see that cumulative effect. So it might be not the first concussion and that might not be the second concussion, but it might be the third one in a row that actually is the one that has the significant and long-lasting effects. And so to know your history and for the doctors to know that you've had a number of concussions is really important, I think. Because time and time again we see people who have had that cumulative effect. Working at ACC, one of the aspects we see is people really underestimate the impact of injury on them and their family. And obviously we talk at ACC, we talk about the claims costs and the claim numbers and things like that, but realistically it's the impact it has. And even quite a minor injury, a minor strain, a sprain can you know, people's lives can unravel if you can't drop your kids off to school, you can't get to work and all those sort of things, you can't drive. It has a huge effect. And I think time and time again I've seen people who really underestimated that. You think, I have a bit of a knock, I'll be a bit sore, I go to the physio, have a magic rub and I can shake it off. But actually it doesn't always work like that, and even some of the quite minor injuries can have that effect as well. So if you look at concussion again, you know, if you've got those long-term effects from having a number of smaller concussions, they last with you for years or possibly for the rest of your life. So it's something we see quite a lot of. I'm
Helen Littleworth, physiotherapist and director of Physio Performance. I think the injuries have changed. They definitely have. I think athletes in particular are getting faster. They're getting stronger. You know, they're spending more time bulking up, especially in the men's side of things. But even with the women, you know, we've got faster athletes now. We've got bigger forces. So you've got to deal with the symptoms. And the big thing is you have to deal with them early rather than sit on them. An indication that you need some help is pain. Pain is telling you something. That's the brain telling you that something's not right. So concussions, the likelihood of a concussion happen is always going to be out there in sport. It can happen in hockey, it can happen anywhere. So the main thing is, I think, the severity of the concussion doesn't necessarily mean what's the severity of the damage done in the brain. So sometimes someone can be knocked out but they do very little damage, whereas some that just get a bit of a light knock on the side of the head, they can do some nasty damage. So the big thing is to get in and see a medical doctor, to get in and see someone, you know, if it means the sports injury clinic, if it means after hours at the hospital or after hours doctors, get in and see someone. And then obviously you have to look after the symptoms. So you have to go with what is happening, headaches, nausea, feeling sick, all those sort of things you need to be well aware of. But you've got to get in and get a doctor on board.
I, space, H-A, head, headaches, H-A, head, space, F-E, few, C, Oh, he had a few concussions prior, so it was definitely a lead up to the big one. I, space, R, E, S, rested, B, U, but, D, I, D, didn't, T, E, L, tell, D, O, the doctor, he was still getting headaches. Yeah. Spartans is an invitational rugby team that we've put together to raise awareness, to raise funds for seriously injured players in New Zealand. So we put together a really small tournament last year, and that was sort of the beginning to raise the awareness, and we went bigger and better this year, and made a one-day 10-a-side tournament with 16 teams. So we had a total of 30 games all up over the day, and we got some really big hitters coming in and playing for us, former All Blacks and some Otago legends, and they all represent the injured rugby players. And yeah, it was a pretty successful day. We raised over 11,000 for the charity this year. We had 16 teams. There was 4 pools of 4 teams. 2 fields running all day from 9 a.m. With round robin games, so each team will play the other team in their pool, and that went right through to 3 p.m. Over the day as well, there's plenty on for the kids and stuff as well. We at the break before the semis, while all the points were being calculated, we had an undie run for the guys that didn't score tries. Unfortunately, I had to get my kit off. And there was races for the kids and stuff as well, and prizes for the fastest kid there and a few others. So it was really cool. And then we ripped into semi-finals after that. So the top 2 teams from each pool went through to a final, and we made the 2nd division final and played Oamaru Old Boys. From Oamaru, there was teams from all over Otago and Southland come up to be a part of it. So it was just really awesome support from the whole community. Unfortunately, we went down to them. The Spartans went down. But that's all right though. We were current holders of the title from the previous year, so it's good to see it move on. Then the big final was Otago Boys High School against Kike. Kike got up for the occasion, so they sort of came out of nowhere. No one expected that, and they really turned it on and put on a good performance, knocking us out of the pool into the 2nd division. So, and I think they were really keen to get up for Nick, because Nick's a Kike boy. So I'm sure something special came out of their performance due to that. And they played a pretty impressive Otago Boys High School Old Boys team in the final. They were sharp all day. They only had 3 tries scored against some very well drilled outfit. Ryan Martin loves his footy, and he is definitely going in to win. Yeah, they done that in style. So I think the final score, they knocked over Coke 40 points to 5 in the final, and it was just an amazing occasion. After the final, the 2 teams got together. We had a massive grandstand built. It was by another one of our sponsors. It was just amazing, the support that people come and put into the event. So one guy, Lachlan from Scaffolds for Less, come and built a massive VIP area that we had on the day with the access area for the injured players that we had. Our VIPs, we call them, very injured players. They were all up in the area there, and after the final, the 2 teams went up and carried all the guys down and got a big group photo, and the Otago Boys then performed a haka, which was really special. Classic Case Muse, he gets the ball and there's only one way that boy goes. And in true Case Muse style, he took about 3 or 4 defenders with him over the try line.
No mate, I scored the first try for my team, so I'm pretty lucky. It was a great try too. 10 metres out, 5 people on my back, try. It was awesome. I
remember a couple of times him charging it up. I was standing off his shoulder, but I knew I wasn't going to get the ball. But he was right under the sticks too with his try, and that was in the very first. It might have been one of the first tries of the tournament actually. He done no training coming into it. I don't think many of those boys did, but man, it just shows if you got class, it ain't going nowhere. Chainsaw was the same. He was just ripping it up.
Been great, yeah, good fun. Just a great concept. The teams, it's just fun for everyone. You got the big boys involved as well, which obviously I'm becoming. So no, it's just good. It's a great concept, and it's just been great, well organised, and I think everyone's really enjoying it.
It's gone pretty good actually. Shane's put a lot of effort and work into it. So played in it last year. And I think the way it's grown and expanded, it's great for the image of teams, and it's great for the purpose of supporting injured players. So the day's gone really well. It's a testament to him.
Oh mate, I think Shane's done a fantastic job, especially after last year at the last minute, he throwing it together, and I think he learnt a lot from that tournament, and he's growing it into what it is today. And there were 8 teams that still wanted to join him, but he just couldn't accommodate them. So you can definitely see that there is a market for this, and that it's only going to get bigger and better, next year, which would be fantastic.
You don't really get to see each other quite often, ever since their playing days, so it's quite good to touch base again, and just all the young guys coming up as well. There's quite a lot of young talent coming up through the grades, so it's really great to see them excel. just all the clubs getting involved. So it's the whole package, just one part.
Probably getting used to being tackled again, because I'm 41 years old and it's been a while. So and just getting back into the swing of things, taking a hit and then realising that some of these young guys are a wee bit quicker than me. So, but that's been the fun part, and I think everyone's really enjoyed it. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, body's holding up. It's old retired player. Getting out here having a crack. So against these fit young men, but it is starting to seize up a little bit. But got 2 games to go, so we've got to guts it out and finish the day.
We put a lot of work into getting the event out there and what it was all about, and I think that was just a massive reason that we had so much support from the community, and everyone just wanted to be a part of it. So, R-E-A-L, really, E, enjoyed, R-W-A-T, watching, R-U, the rugby, B, but, P-E-O, people, M-A-D, made, D-A, day, but the people made the day. He's footy mad, this boy, he just loves it. Just sat there in the one spot for how many hours? You were there before the beginning, so 8:30 till about the final finished at 5:30. So 8:30 to 5:30, he's just sitting there in the one spot, just glued to field number 1. It was cool. There has been talk about moving to the stadium as well, but I think by doing that we're going to lose the community feel behind what it's about. So there's still, there's yet to be a meeting. I've got a huge team that want to get behind it now and help put things together. We've just done everything on our own this year, so it was a big job. Also had some interest from Wellington Rugby Union as well, wanting to buy the event. So it's something that's not for sale. It's something that we're going to keep down here and build on every year. This is, they've got enough going on up. They've got the Wellington Sevens, they've got the Auckland Nines. This is the Dunedin Tens. So it's definitely going to be an annual tournament, and it's registered now with the New Zealand Rugby Foundation as an official event. So it's just going to get bigger and better, and the Otago Rugby Union are behind it all 100% as well. I got an email from them and they're really impressed by it as well. What we've done is set up an account where we make a donation straight through to the New Zealand Rugby Foundation, and the New Zealand Rugby Foundation, they assist seriously injured players throughout the country, like Nick. For example, a chap, Ben Larson, who's seriously injured down in Invercargill, he had an apartment set up at his place where he lived in the top floor, and they weren't happy with him, being up there and just with risk of fire or anything happening, so they rebuilt a whole bottom floor for him and put in his own accessible area just in and out of the ground floor. So they're an amazing foundation who help do what they can where they can to make life as easy as possible for these guys. ABOU, about 102 V. There's about 102 VIPs in the country, and New Zealand is a country that's just absolutely mad on footy, so why not get them behind and support these guys who have been injured, playing the game they love, playing the game that New Zealand loves. PEO, people. NE, need. GO, people need goals. My main, my main LO, long-term goal is rehabilitation. ECO, recovery. THIS, this. I is JU, this is just. S, short-term stuff, just that stuff that we're doing along the way. WHI, which. CONTR, contributes to his rehabilitation. So the training that we're doing now is all with the main goal in mind of rehab, getting him up and living as normally as we can. And these wee things along the way just complement what we're doing, and it's just awesome for Nick as well, because with rehab being the main goal, he can still do what the rest of us boys are doing, and because if he didn't get injured, he'd still be out there, doing all this, playing footy, in the gym, loves the gym, he'd be bodybuilding, he'll be doing it all, and he is, so it's awesome. REPO, report it. AN and ST, AN, stand, STO, and stand down. F for LO, for long. Enough, for long. ER, for longer. Yeah, definitely. I'm the same. I haven't got my Swede's not too good either. I'm very prone to getting head knocks, and I took a beauty back in 2005. I had about 2 years off for that one before I started playing again, but still it doesn't take much. Last one I got early last season, and I just pulled the pin on the season, so you definitely need to rest up and get it right, because it's just a ticking time bomb, really. There was that guy just recently over the UK somewhere, he come off after getting a knock, said, righto, away you go, get back out there, and just within minutes of being back on the field, he took another real beauty, so it's just so dangerous. You really got to look after them, and Nick's right, do get in there and report it to the doctor. So there is a history that can be looked upon.
Often when we're talking about concussion, we talk about 4 Rs, and the first one is recognition, really, and that's where everybody's got a part to play. So whether it be parents or teammates or friends, whether it be the ref or the coach, you can recognise when that person's had a knock. You've seen the play on the paddock, and you can tell when somebody's taken a major hit. Remember, you don't always need to have a direct hit to the head to get concussion. It can be a hit somewhere else. And you can see how that person responds. And any signs of that concussion, you need to be sort of recognising that. So the next R is then removal. So if you've got any doubt at all, the big thing is to get them off and get them assessed a little bit more in more detail, really. So the sort of things, and that most people know what the basic signs of concussion are. You know, it's the classic signs where if people are confused, they have some memory loss, they are slightly drowsy, or their balance isn't very good. You know, those are the sort of things that you're looking out for. And there's certainly, from a more technical point of view, for coaches and for people who are on the sideline of the teams, there's certainly a lot of information about the sort of things you should be looking for. So once the person's removed, then the next thing really is to get them to be recovered, and that's where you do really need a medical assessment. So it should go from firstly sort of getting them off the paddock and then deciding what the next step is. And if in doubt, you need to get them to a doctor to be assessed appropriately, and that's where that clinical stuff comes in, really. But another aspect of concussion is often it may not manifest itself really straight away. So the player might shake themselves off, they might get back in the game, they might feel okay, but actually it might be a number of hours or even a number of days later where they start to show signs of that concussion. And that's where, again, a bit of vigilance in the case of teammates and friends and family is really important. And as soon as those sort of signs start to come through, they need to get to a doctor and they need to get that assessed. And the last R that they talk about is the return, really, and that's the new concussion guidelines have looked into that a lot, giving clinicians and doctors a strong guide in how you can gradually get back to your sport and to your normal life as well, because if you rush that too often, and that's often the case in a team environment, then you can put that back or even sort of have permanent problems with returning to daily life and to the sport that you love.
So I think the biggest message in all this is there's no such thing as harden up and get back out there. It's just a load of crap. It takes more balls to get in and get it sorted, and having a couple of weeks off, that's much harder to do, because no one does want to have a couple of weeks off. You just want to get out there, but that's the important thing that you do have to and need to do. Otherwise it's going to be a lifetime of not being able to play again, or even worse, people have died from head injuries. So it's really important to get in there, man up, get in there, get it sorted, and look after that injury.
The likelihood of a concussion happen is always going to be out there in sport. It can happen in hockey, it can happen anywhere. So the main thing is, I think, the severity of the concussion doesn't necessarily mean what's the severity of the damage done in the brain. So sometimes someone can be knocked out but they do very little damage, whereas some that just get a bit of a light knock on the side of the head, they can do some nasty damage. So the big thing is to get in and see a medical doctor, to get in and see someone, if it means the sports injury clinic, if it means after hours at the hospital or after hours doctors, get in and see someone. And then obviously you have to look after the symptoms, so you have to go with what is happening: headaches, nausea, feeling sick, all those sort of things you need to be well aware of. But you've got to get in and get a doctor on board. And the likelihood of getting back to play, you're not allowed to basically get back to play or training if you've got any of those symptoms whatsoever. At least a 3-week stand down period for the rugby. And a lot of the times it's more than 3 weeks for the players that I've been involved in. And you're better to be well and truly on the side of caution than get them back playing as soon as possible.
K-E-E, keep. L-I-V, keep living. L-I, life, keep living life. Yeah, definitely.